Welcome back, everyone. Today's video should be a video that's pretty common that you could share with other people, either what you extrapolate from it and summarize and share with other people, or you can directly share the video with them. All of my life, I have been a boy mom. I raised a male who would be 29 right now, but has deceased at the age of 24. And I currently work in treatment very part time with all males. I was a boy mom, therapeutic foster mom for probably about 6 or 7 different males that I just dearly love, and I think they're amazing. And I got a real insight into understanding oppositional defiant disorder, intermittent explosive anger disorder. And of course, I was very well trained in my recent studies with substance use disorder as well. All of my life, I have gathered medicine and been quite a keen observer by looking, not just looking with the eyes, but observing to get a good idea about what's going on. Just last week, even, I had a young man who's probably in his early 30s say, I just can't get up. I've got a terrible migraine. And I work with male clients. I have at least 5 right now that are regular clients that have been seeing me for a period of years that started off with headaches or migraines, like my son had, or anger periodically, or insomnia, depression, and they start getting very stiff. Now, most of the time, what we want to do is start off with the bare bones basics. The bare bones basics, that's a tongue twister, is the HTMA profile number 2 in the consult. That consult that comes with that as a test kit, as a deal together, is only 250 because I have not raised the price for many years. That consult is a half an hour. I spend an hour separate from you going through your wellness form and your whole maybe 29-page patient report. And therein, I give you a synopsis of what the lab's findings are, what it's telling us. I go over your questions relative to what you're experiencing in relation to what the lab has to share. I additionally like all of my clients to get a KPU, which is a cryptopyral urine test, because that's going to really tell us and inform us a lot about what's going on with your brain in terms of B6 and zinc. Pyroxidine is extremely important, and most people are not able to form a methyl group, which is why I talk a little bit about undermethylation. That's going to be your anxiety, depression, insomnia, sometimes anger. Now, a lot of us have what's called a facade, right? And we're really good at facade management. I have a facade. You have a facade. Everyone in the world has a facade, which means you got a face that you put on. George Washington talked about it and he called it poker face. Lady Gaga sang about it, right? And we have this poker face that we put on, but we do get angry. It's healthy to get angry. But sometimes we start becoming explosive, like I talked about the intermittent anger explosive disorder, right? Or we have children, or we know ourselves in retrospect that maybe years ago as a preteen and a teenager, or even a young boy today with the incidence of toxic womb and people being born to insufficient, deficient mothers in the womb right away with thyroid, energy, metabolism, etc. We know that you might have had explosive, aggressive, angry, rage. It wasn't your fault. And I'm here to prove that to you. I had it myself for about 2 years, and I had elevated levels of lead, which I ended up passing on to my child. I'm going to share that with you by showing you the proof, the evidence. That's what the modern Western allopathic that sees itself as the great all. The Wizard of Oz that they're building is that you can go to Goo Gaga, you can go to Google, and they can give you all the standardized authority-based information. And you better take it, and you better not challenge it, and you better do what they tell you to do, right? Roll up your sleeves, take it in. Well, open up your mind and do what they tell you to do. And this is what peeves a great many of my clients in their 30s about their parents, their pay rents. They pay their rent for them. It's because they don't like what their parents are doing. Pay rents is just a way that we look at word sound power for parents who break it down because they pay your rent from the time you're born until you're 18, typically, maybe not always. So no one's targeting anyone here specific. Don't take it. We can all take things too personal. Did you know that how you methylate, that's why we used to have cyanocobalamin for B12, right? Now we have methylcobalamin. we give you the methyl donor so that you're able to then be able to administer and take in and get benefit from the B12. So if you're an under methylator, which I've mentioned to many of my male clients who can't afford consulting to pass the HTMA, and I understand that. That's why I broke out the new suggestion here from one of my clients about you can send an email with a $25 PayPal, which I've got a website designer working on to put it on the website by the first of the year is my hope. But people are just hitting my PayPal slash shaman for 25 and I answer the question for you, a one-part question. But this is why I mentioned about undermethylation because there's an undermethylation and an overmethylation where what you're going to do as an undermethylator is you're going to not really be very comfortable being a vegan. I started to name this video, Why So Many Angry Vegans? Because I have met in my nearly 40 years of being a very strict, hardcore, militant, clean eating, all the different adjectives you want to give it and the names you want to call it, vegan. And I imposed it on my son, which was absolutely the wrong thing to do. You see, I'm in the position that I'm in, kind of like an Ann Landers of answering questions, because I've made way more mistakes than you're probably ever going to make in your entire lifetime. I have made mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake, and I've learned from them. Okay. And I sought out how do I improve? How do I get better? How do I not do that again? How have I learned from that? How can I implement something better? Right. And so when you become an elder, it's just kind of like when you're 15 and you look at your little brother maybe who's 7 and you think, gosh, when I was 7, I thought I knew it all too, right? Well, when I was 30, 32, 30, 33, when I had my child, I believe it was in 1995, I thought, shoot, I know it all. I'm going to be like miles ahead of my own parents, right? Well, that's because the matrix, the game is always changing. The medical industry is changing. The medications are changing. The vaccinations are changing. Everything is changing. The land masses are changing. We have gentrification issues to think about. We have different laws that are going into effect. And so you can't really count on it because it seems like everything is just super easy at that point in your life. And you can think, well, why those dummies didn't get it together? And I can see why you would think that because a lot of us that are in my age group actually didn't intentionally develop or what's typically called in psychology self-actualize. You didn't try to reach for better and better and better and better. Okay. Mistakes and learn from them. Mistakes, go out and seek knowledge, sit down at the feet of elders and listen to them, which is what I did. Get hundreds of books and read through them, highlight things, constantly search for answers. What was the word sound? What is the etymology of something? So it took me, what seems like maybe just a simple sit down and talk with you very casually right now about headaches, migraines, anger, rage, chronic type 1 or type 2 insomnia. Type 1 is where you just can't go to sleep at all. And type 2 is where you lay down and you go to sleep, but you just wake up and you wake up and you wake up and you wake up and you don't feel rested when you wake up. You don't feel good what you eat. So what ends up happening is a lot of people who are under methylators, who've got the anxiety, the depression, the insomnia, all that going on, right? Which may be copper toxicity, which is periodically coming out of your system, which is why the lab that I practitioner for, that you would do the HTMA for, we would have to do at least 5 or 6 times with you, steadily doing the supplements they recommend at the dose they recommend for you as an individual specifically. Not just, I'm looking for a bottle. Let's pretend this is a bottle. This is my master step crystal that I got in Sedona. Oh, the back of this bottle says take 1, so I better just take 1. Well, the way that the report was written for me, for example, when I was thrust at the very end of everything with the grief and 4 years of extreme chronic stress, I needed to take the Minflex B. I needed to take 6 tablets per day, 2-3 times per day. That's what was recommended for me, right? My KPU was over 100 milligrams, which is absolutely insane. That's how stressed and inflamed I was. And then I went to the doctors at Integrative Health because I didn't want to pay out of my pocket. And I had the HSCRP done, which she said, I've never heard of that. And I said, well, it's a much more accurate newer test than just C-reactive protein. It's a high sensitivity, with thus the HS before it. So, if you can accept that I don't look my most beautiful, I'm a grieving mom. Yes, still, yes, I will be for the rest of my life. I'm putting myself back together. I'd cut off all my dreadlocks and I'm regrowing out my hair again, which I've done many times, which is mostly not great for 63, and it's not dyed either. I don't bleach my teeth. I'm not going to go in and get Botox to try to make myself look attractive or pleasant or manicured to today's modern standards. And I've been through a lot, including just going and completing a degree on top of all the stress that I had. So that's where I'm at. So when you work with me, you get quite a bit more. You get at much less of a cost than you would directly be paying a functional medical doctor, or you can keep looking for yourself. Undermethylators tend to gravitate to a carnivore diet because they're in an, take this very carefully with what I'm about to say. They're in an active disease state. They've either got an extremely hyperthyroid, they've got a super fast stress level, subtype metabolism. Now, when you get your HTMA done and you get your patient report, which you can do anywhere in the world, if you live outside of the US, it doesn't make sense for us to mail it, mail you the kit and you mail it back to me. So I actually will call the lab and find a practitioner for you somewhere else in the world. I've done that many, many times. But then when you submit the hair sample, whether it's scalp or pubic or it's fingernails, um, we're going to get an email patient report of 22 to 29 pages. And it's going to have right on the top of it and throughout the report your metabolic type. I'm a slow one. There's not a golden type. There's slow one, fast one, slow two, slow three, slow four, fast two, fast three, fast four. The 2, 3, and 4 are subtypes, which is a stress pattern, which indicates you're in a pattern of disease. Your body is not, happy. So a lot of times when you're in that disease state, you won't do well adding extreme detoxification like a vegan diet, which you could do if you had a good, strong metabolism and you also are in optimal methylation. And there's some other things too. We would look at that KPU, right? So that you're building on a good foundation. So this is what I provide for my clients. I am not a doctor. I do not diagnose nor prescribe, and it's very silly, but because the medical industry is the largest censoring agency in the entire world in the censorship industrial complex that we live in today, which has censored me to the hilt and many people that I know, I must tell you that, okay? I've written a couple of books. I have many more that I want to put out that I think are absolutely legit and full of wonderful information that might actually really make you do some serious thinking. So sometimes my topics might seem like, oh, that's kind of woo-woo or that's kind of out there. Give it a moment to just resonate and marinate inside of yourself without just having a knee-jerk reaction like, wow, what is she doing with that? People are going through some things, and it hasn't always been the most honest system that we live within in the matrix. So I hope you're doing well. The best thing to do is to order your HTMA with the consult 250 at mamazshaman.com. ODD, intermittent anger explosive disorder, ADHD. I wanted to actually read you a couple things here really quick too before I leave. We had a 12-year-old oppositional defiant assaultive child go from antisocial personality disorder and ODD, again, oppositional defiant disorder, to well-behaved straight A student after 3 months of nutrient therapy. Nutrient therapy means we need to find out what your nutritional elements are. These show up on the report. Do not expect your doctor, your average, 99% of your average doctors, to absolutely have any kind of a clue. In fact, you can expect them to actually maybe even poo-poo this because they weren't trained in it. They weren't trained in healing. They were trained in modalities, methodologies, and anatomy and physiology, etc. 2 more that I'll read to you. 16-year-old violent child goes from very violent and episodic rage disorder diagnosis to calm honor student within 2 months of nutrient therapy. To minimize extreme behaviors, I just got a degree in behavioral health, right? In psychology with an individualized minor at the end of last year in 23. 2 months. 8-year-old with an ADD, attention deficit disorder diagnosis, completely reversed in just 2 months of nutrient therapy. I see it, but you can't just keep doing it your way. You can't find willy-nilly what kind of supplements you wanna get, "Oh, this looks like a good one, I'll get this one. Well, that one sounds really amazing. Well, that one sounds like Exotica, so I'll get that brand. That one's got a really pretty bottle. Well, my friend does really good on this one." Your friend is not gonna have the same situation you came from, the same womb you came out of, the same father's contribution, the same ancestral contribution, the same exact environment you lived on. You are a unique, very individual specific, person-centered, you know, uh, human animal that needs person-centered medicine. And many people are starting to say, "You know what? I really wanna have an art form of medicine as a person who's gonna help me to heal myself, to optimize myself." That didn't really come out right. In order to optimize your health and wellness, you need to look at person-centered, individual-specific, art-based medicine, meaning you're looking at the whole person, the holistic with a WH, whole person. The brain, the eyes, the skin, the integumentary system, right? Your glands, your thyroid, everything is a whole. And that whole has to function just like a vehicle in its terms of its metabolism. Put gas in the car, you hope the gas has to burn it through the gas filter. What's it called? Fuel filter, excuse me. And things have to work right, whether you've got an old car and it's got a carburetor, or you've got fuel injection. Those pieces all have to work in harmony. If not, you have to identify where your mechanic needs to diagnose where is a problem spot. Okay. So don't sit and suffer. Don't simply accept singularly a mental health diagnosis when there's other components and pieces that you can do to help yourself. You can take the mental health diagnosis and say, okay, this is legit, this is valid. I respect what this trained professional is offering me. But do I have to sit and keep that for the rest of my life? Look at the 3 cases I just read to you about with minors. Okay. I straight up told psychiatrists when I worked with Northwoods Children's Homes doing therapeutic foster care and also homes for kids in Santa Cruz, California, no, I'm not giving them Seroquel at night and this in the day and holding out a handful of medications for a 12, 13-year-old boy, which we have no idea the ramifications of administering polypharmacy like that to a developing brain. We now know in psychology that the age of 20 to 29 is an emerging adult. You're just emerging into being able to handle, especially males, and especially what's happened to the blood through the blood-brain barrier of males, which I cannot go into on this channel. There's things I can't go into. So I'm trying to give you a wide variety to build again that spiral of knowledge. So if you stay with me and you help others to come on board, we can get the numbers up enough to be able to start circulating and getting much more content out here because we'll have strength in numbers as well. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are, and you take good care. Thank you.